what advice would you give to, say, a branding team that is trying to, they hear you, they like what you're saying, but there are people at the top that don't want to go through this whole process that you're talking about, where it's like, we need to think a lot deeper about our audience, we need to think a lot more about storytelling. The CEO has his agenda and he just wants to run with it. How would you persuade, the C-suite or the CEO who might have their idea of what branding should be to actually think a little bit deeper about it?
Yeah, to come on board. I think that the first thing that we try to do is get them involved in the conversation very early on. Those people often, they have a lot of big ideas and a lot of ambition and a lot of like forward kind of thinking, stuff for the company itself, and getting them in the room to be a part of the initial workshop, which is how we often start, or actually how we always start brand positioning jobs, is to get them in the Zoom room, in the whiteboard, in the physical room with a big Post-it notes, sticky pad, to talk through their thoughts and their ideas, and also to have them in the room with some other people who hopefully aren't afraid to not dissent like openly, but at least say, hey, I don't really see it that way. I'm on the sales floor and maybe I hear a lot more of X. And just kind of have them, we found that, discovery sessions are great for us. Obviously, they're wonderful for us because we get to ask a lot of really great questions and dig into the guts of a brand, and also the guts of the personalities that are sort of like running the show on the client side, but also gives a lot of times clients in a team an opportunity to talk about things that they've never talked about openly together. And so, whereas they're working, marketing's working in its silo, sales is working in its silo, customer success is working in its silo, the CEO is over here sort of like trying to kind of drive the show, but nobody's really talking about what they're seeing out there and what's real. So it's an opportunity to get everybody in the room and talk about those things in sort of a non-confrontational and often kind of fun and active way. So that would be my first my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is sort of connected to that, is like, if they can't be a part of that, try to do an individual interview with them, but at the very least, have them be involved and giving feedback all along the way, because being heard is often the key, right? Even if we don't implement absolutely every piece of advice that they give or everything, most people are pretty satisfied to just say, hey, I said my thing, and y'all, hopefully, and when it works well, they say, hey, you guys are the experts. Let's take your recommendation. Often it's a compromise, but we at least try to start strong.
Great. So what you're saying is the decision makers need to be involved in the conversation early. In fact, as at the start of the process, if someone was to work with Edgar Allan, you'd have all sorts of people in the room at the start of the conversation